biggest question that we're going to ask tonight: who is TSleeveless?
And, when I realized that I had something in me that a lot of people appreciated and, wanted to draw out of me, I dove fully into it, and the rest is the history. So, a lot of people don't know this, but I started with music. I have so much faith. I have so much confidence in my ability. I have so many people supporting me. I have so much gratitude. There's so much love around me. I can't lose.
I know they trying to knock me down, I ain't going out. As the culture turns, you gotta figure it out. They see you getting it poppin', they gon' try and come around. I be down to go out last and keep it live around. In the blink, get you hit, bitch, we gon' get you fired. Called your turn, caught up in the mix. Called your turn, better watch out for that blitz. Called your turn, can't deny that I'm lit. Called your turn, you can't deny that I'm
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Culture Conversations, presented to you by As the Culture Turns. My name is Jameer, and I'll be a moderator for today's episode.
Hey, and this is Kendall. And down there, go ahead.
All right, this is Nadia, y'all.
All right, so no, you good?
We're
gonna let you introduce yourself. So we got a special guest with us, joining us today. So you can introduce yourself. Sorry.
Peace, y'all. My name is TSleeveless, full-time poet, creative artist, creative entrepreneur, whatever you want to call it. It's good to be here. It's an honor and a privilege. Thank y'all for having me.
All right, there we go. All right, we'll pass it over to Kendall to start everything off.
All right, man. So the most important question, probably the biggest question that we're going to ask tonight: who is TSleeveless? What are your biggest influences? What makes you you? What drives you to do what you do and makes you who you are?
All right, yeah, that's a loaded question. Okay,
it's a heavy question. Who are you, man?
I am an artist, and this is one of them questions, man.
Talk your talk, brother.
Why am I blinking right now? This is crazy. Y'all started recording, I started blinking. That's crazy.
It's like that every time. Trust me.
Right? I don't know what it is. It's strange. It's the same. It feels like stage fright. It's crazy.
This is perfect.
Yeah. I don't know. A lot of my art, a lot of my motivation, a lot of my inspiration just came from the desire to feel heard. Like most people, when they pursue some kind of creative art, it's born from this desire to put out these things and to have them perceived. Even though there's a fear within that, there's a necessity for it as well. There's a demand for it. And, the whole world runs on art. Every single person is a consumer of some form of art. And, when I realized that I had something in me that a lot of people appreciated and, wanted to draw out of me, I dove fully into it. And the rest has been history, man.
Okay. So the next question that I would want to follow to from that, why poetry? Why do you think it is poetry that you chose as your medium of expression?
So a lot of people don't know this, but I started with music, and I realized pretty quickly in the music industry that it's just the culture of it is not it, bro. The culture of music coming up in the industry, whatever, what I'm saying, it's just not it. Shit is toxic, and it's like one of the quickest ways to get all creativity in you murdered, because it's not just about making art. There's a lot of evil within it. And I realized, I've always been a writer, not always a good writer, but I've always been a writer. I've been writing since the second grade, and I can put together stories very well. I absolutely love writing. I adore language arts. And when I abandoned the hope and the desire to do music, I picked up immediately after the performative version of it, which was spoken word. Mm-hmm. And I find myself able to express things that I are trying to express in a much more fluent and intelligent way when I put them in a spoken word format. And I just prefer it that way because it's what I'm naturally good at.
And good at it you are, man.
Appreciate it.
I'm gonna say this straight up, you are in my top 5 poets.
Hey,
and honor that I think both you and I have is that we probably know all the people that we have in our top.
Oh, absolutely.
It's pretty dope. So the last question that I have for at least this segment. So Teach a Boy to Cry, that piece, I would say that's what puts you like on the map, right? Like this piece blew you up, like made you one of the first viral poets to come out of VIP. Where did that piece come from, and why do you think that was the one that went viral, and how has that affected you?
So virality is a really, really funny thing, right? Virality happens for so many reasons. Most of them are asinine and mindless and useless. It's a very short-lived fuse that burns out quickly and is over with. The thing about Teach a Boy to Cry is the content of it and the necessity of it because of the topic it addresses, which is one of the most polarizing subjects and has been probably for all of human history. It's men's mental health and this impossible, this complicated, this overly argumentative topic is men's mental health. And I wrote the poem because it's the poem I needed to hear that wasn't available. I hear a lot of people talking about men's mental health, but the way that I perceive things, I just don't hear nothing these people are saying. I don't feel it. I don't think that they're well spoken enough. They don't hit it in the ways that can really resonate with the masses because men are widely misunderstood, as we all know, and like the poem was just born out of necessity. It just had to happen. I felt it in me. I needed to hear it, and clearly the rest of the world did too.
So after that like went viral, like what are like some of the major changes that you think you've experienced before and like after?
I landed a lot of gigs. I had a ton of traction to my page, a lot more eyes on my work, a lot more interest in my name and my artistry. And because of that, I was able to, about maybe 5-6 months after the poem went dumb, I had the confidence to quit my job. And so it changed my life in a way that I dove into full-time artistry, and I haven't looked back since. Um, yeah, man, man, the changes I went through, the changes that came, like they're innumerable. It's crazy. I'm still getting bookings to this day about that poem. Like I have another show October 7th with Charlemagne in iHeartRadio at Times Square in New York City,
Let's
just
go.
off of that poem because they saw the poem and they want to hear it. And now they're bringing me out. And it's just like that's just one of the very many things that it's done. It's done incredible, incredible things, and I'm extremely grateful. I express gratitude for it all the time.
I like that. I did lie. I do have one more, but I want to see if anybody has like a response or any questions off of that.
So I do have, because y'all are on the topics of like the two questions that I kind of had. So I do want to touch on the poem, the one that y'all were just talking about, because I have been listening to a lot of your poetry, and there are some bars to me that specifically stood out. So I'm gonna recite one, or repeat it to you, and then I just want you to tell me how in your mind where were you at when that happened. So the first one I got is most men will only experience unconditional love from their mother. And some of us don't even get that. Most of us have never felt appreciation or respect without conditions or hidden intentions. Now, it was more to that, but again, could you break that bar down for us? Because I personally felt that one to the soul.
Yeah, man. I know so many men, and this is such a treacherous fact of life, that have just been living without any idea of what love actually looks like, what it feels like, having never received it. And it, like, what that does to somebody translates into so many different ways. And that poem wasn't created to excuse anybody for any of the treacherous things that they do as a result of not having love, but it really is just an explanation and an insight into why that happens, into why people turn out the way that they do, specifically men. That bar, those couple of lines were born in the interest of explaining that, because most men have no idea what unconditional love is, and if they do, they got it from their mom, and if not that, then nowhere, and they may not ever get it at any point in life. And I had to shine a light on that.
There we go. Thank you. I definitely do appreciate that, because that was something that did stick out to me. And I do know, like, this right here is, oh, I'm sorry, I put up the wrong one. I'm so sorry. I want to go to the next one because y'all were on the topic of the job, and you said that you had the courage to actually quit your job, and you had actually posted on March 20th that you had quit your job and became a full-time creative, and you expressed it in a poem called Timekeeper. In the midst of all of this inflation, I definitely do commend you. So overall, how is it going? You know, being a full-time creative.
This is gonna sound really funny. I've been an extremely financially responsible person my entire life. Ever since I knew how to make a buck, I've had bread easily, no problem. Since I quit my job, I have had the worst financial issues that I've ever experienced in my life. I'm still doing fine in all reality, but I have more debt and less money than I've ever had in my name in my life. But at the same time, I don't care. I don't have an attachment to it because I know that financial security that I had was born from so much mental instability working at these jobs. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that the money's not around, but my mental stability is, I can't even be bothered. I just don't care. You know, so how's it going? It's going great. It's going amazing. It's going fantastic. I wouldn't have changed a thing. I absolutely love it. I'm just glad I did it when I did because shit has just been working out. I have so much faith. I have so much confidence in my ability. I have so many people supporting me. I have so much gratitude. There's so much love around me. I can't lose. So and jumping out of that job and I'm still here. I'm still surviving. Like I'm literally the divergent, and I love that for me. You know, like it's going amazing.
That's good. That's good. Definitely inspired by that, and I definitely can't wait to be in the position where I'm actually able to do that as well. So I definitely commend you for that. Definitely. So I know that's what I have for this section just right now. Naya, did you have anything to ask?
Well, not so much to ask. Well, I guess ask, add on, and to say. So, so you said two. Well, there was two different things that was brought out that like stuck out to me, and it made me emotional. And the first one was when Kendall asked you like what inspired you to actually write and to do poetry, and you was like just being able to be heard. And I feel like I struggled with that, you know, like growing up and just even now. And I feel like a lot of people struggle with just wanting to be heard because a lot of times people are selfish. And I guess poetry is the best way to express yourself because growing up, they told us like, you know, if you got something on your mind, if you got something to say, write it in a book. Do you gotta? They used to give women diaries. I don't know if men also had diaries, but they got to write their thoughts down. But they would tell us to write it in a diary because nobody really wanted to hear it, and your mind was always going because you might have grew up in trauma and all kinds of things. So just that alone, like you know, being able to have that pen and that book, and when you're going through something and you want to get heard, you now people don't have a choice but to hear it. You get what I'm saying? Because now you speaking it out. So it's like, look, if they don't hear it, somebody gonna hear it. So like that made me a little like, dang, like I remember literally growing up not being able to say nothing and I had to keep all my emotions in. You get what I'm saying? So poetry is basically beautiful, like when I hear that. And were you about to say something?
No, I was just saying, trust me, I feel that. You know, I feel that to my core.
I'm sure we all do, believe me.
No, for real. But I'm not good at writing. I'm good at speaking and talking and expressing myself. But I always kept it in. And I feel like, you know, with that being said, like I really feel like that's more like the rise of like suicide and different things like that. And I think that, you know, people going to like you going to go talk and to these different people and going on different platforms and shows that allows people to have the courage like, yo, I can do this. You know what I mean? Even if it's not like him, even if it's not on a stage, that gives people confidence that they can probably speak out about their feelings in a different way. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And there's such a unique position. That's why I express so much gratitude because there were people I looked up to that I'm in the same shoes as them now. And it's a lot of responsibility on my shoulders, but I'm wearing it well. And I'm grateful to be in the position where I can inspire so many people. You know, the fact that these poems, the things that I write, they get speculated so much, but it's so much positivity that comes out of it. So many people that are constantly hitting me up every day about, yo, this changed my perspective. Yo, this made me cry, but in a good way. Yo, this opened my eyes up, bro. I needed to hear this. This healed me every single day. Like, this is literally what I was created to do.
Your
Wow.
comment sections be
Wow.
yeah, like
Wow. I'm saying wow because you stole one of my questions. You answered it already, so whatever. Because I literally was going to ask you, I think I was saying this earlier to them, like, I don't know if they remember, but I was going to ask you, like, has anyone been so inspired that you actually changed their life because of your spoken word? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I just got a message, an email a couple weeks ago about a prison reformist who works in a prison, and they played my poems all up in the prisons for the prisoners, and it's just like
Wow.
for the first time in some of these grown people's lives, they are writing poetry and actually expressing themselves. And there was a group of these rough, tough, you know what I'm saying, whatever, always got to be this, that, and the third because you literally in jail. And she was saying for the first time ever, they just let that guard down. They just wrote,
Wow.
just expressed themselves. And even if they never do it again, at least they did it once. That's life changing.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Wow. Wait. So another thing, Jameer had end up, reciting something from one of your poetries. And that's what really was about to make me cry, because the fact that, like, a lot of men really don't feel love. And between men and women, like, the ratio of men with suicide is so high because they don't feel love, or they don't feel like they don't feel complete. They always feel like they got a point to prove, or they don't feel hurt as well. And I feel like a lot of men do struggle more than women actually think. And I think society do put a lot of pressure and weight on men. You get what I'm saying? Women do too. And because we expect so much from men that it causes them to go into that depression, that suicide. And when you said that about men not being able to feel loved by other people, only their moms, and sometimes not even a mom, it's like, dang, it's really like that. It's like that for women too, but it seemed like men always get, like,
It is. And it's like, I'm not going to dive into too much political shit, right? But there is a very, very well thought out evil machine in place that is, and the purpose of it is to be extremely divisive between the sexes. Because there's so much profit and so much to be made and so much to sell to people that are lonely, that are hurting, that are struggling. There's so much to profit off of people's hurting, anguished, damaged souls, and to purport the narrative that, the divisive narrative, and it's like men versus women is what you see this bullshit online all the time, is to get you separated and angry and confused. And this dude is saying this shit, this shorty saying this shit, when in reality it all boils down to how much we both need each other. And nobody's coming to that realization in the ways that they should, because there's so much of everything else telling you the opposite.
Most definitely.
So much finger pointing.
Yeah. I actually have another question. Definitely.
That was deep.
On the topic of it, because you did post something on your Instagram that I saw, and it said, sometimes I hate being a poet. I hate that people always expect me to say something deep, but never ask if I'm drowning. Could you please elaborate on this for us? Because again, that was another bar that I felt like it hit true to home.
Yeah, man, that's one of my favorite bars I've ever written. I have a lot, but
that one was different.
My own biggest, but that bar is special. Because again, I'm in this unique position as an artist. Literally no cocky shit or not. I really don't ever my ego is in control, but I'm one of the most influential poets coming up right now, and I recognize that. At the same time, that comes with a silent expectation from the masses to always be on a certain level, and also an expectation imposed upon myself to constantly one up the last thing that I did.
Yeah.
And so that quote where it's like everyone wants me to say something deep but won't ask if I'm drowning, because it's like in a lot of people's lives, I'm a character. You know what I'm saying? I'm like my TSleeveless is a perceivable character on stage, but the human who is me is often left out of that picture, because there's a dichotomy between the artist and the person. And it's very easy to be this character on stage. When the curtains close, what happens? You know what I'm saying? And I don't know. It's been a very interesting journey between being an artist and a human at the same time, because it is still a performative craft. You know, when I get on that stage, it's still a performance, and you know that's a big emphasis on performance. You know,
Yeah.
so that quote is really just to emphasize the you know, there's still a dichotomy. There's still a human in there that needs the same things y'all do. Everybody else does.
So do you feel like, I know this is something I deal with a lot myself. When I write something and it's like, damn, I had to really go somewhere to write this. Like inside myself, I had to go to a place I don't want to go, typically. But the only way to deal with that feeling, that emotion, is to write. But at the same time, I struggle to write from feelings that aren't the dark, right? Like when I want to write, it's like, hey, okay, so you spend some time in the darkness, you got all that out. But do you feel like you also struggle to write from a place of joy, like pleasure, and just enjoying life too? Or
Man, and you know, here's the thing. I just posted 2 quotes that deal with that topic. I don't have them memorized, so I just posted them, but like that specific topic I've touched on so many times, and that's because at least this is my perspective, right? So take everything I say with a grain of salt. But nobody needs your help being happy. No one needs your assistance through the good days, the good times. You just have them. What people need help with is hard things, is heartbreak, is trauma. That's, you know, that's when a poet is called upon. You know what I'm saying? So we have this intrinsic understanding that the puzzle piece we fit into, which is to speak upon damage and hurt and darkness, is what is where we shine. You know, that's why we're here. But and that's why you have to travel there to get that. You're traveling there to give people what you're here to give them. You know what I'm saying? But on the flip side, we have troubles writing about, like, you know, an actual love poem, or you know, like nobody really actually needs to hear your poem about your great walk through the park or your great day at work or none of that. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody's struggling to live in a happy moment. It's a natural thing to be able to just experience your happiness. Where poets come in is to dissect the darkness. You know what I'm saying? That's why we travel there.
That's a tagline if I've ever heard one. Dissect the darkness.
I like that, definitely. And if you don't mind, can I piggyback off of this real quick, because
Yeah, go ahead.
this takes me to the mindset of artists such as like a Mary J. Blige or Keisha Cole. There are people who kind of listen to those for like that heartbreak music. You know, it's like, I don't want to hear when you're happy. I want to hear the heartbreak. I want to hear the pain. And for some people, they feel like they have to stay in that pocket because a lot of people come, you know, to be healed by whoever is speaking, whether it's a singer, a pastor, a poet, etc. So piggybacking off of what you're saying, that sometimes people don't want to hear, like, you know, the happy side of you or different things like that. Do you feel pressured to like always have to be deep with your poetry, because some people are expecting, you know, healing from your words or different things like that?
The pressure to feel quote unquote deep really comes more from me than anybody. I just have a standard that I hold myself to. Like I don't like to put out anything I don't consider good in some way. Like I don't think my shit is the best ever. Like I don't have so much of a ego that I think everything I do is the greatest shit ever. But the pressure to write deep poetry more or less comes from myself, because I want to be regarded and known as an artist that wrote some of the most fire shit people have ever heard. So the pressure is an internal, you know, byproduct of my desire to be the greatest.
Okay, I like that, definitely.
I want to ask, to piggyback off of that even, what does that mean to you? What does it mean to be the greatest? What does that look like?
It looks like when you think of poetry, you think of me. Is that very egotistical? It might be, but it's like if you think of spoken word, if you think of poetry, why are you thinking of Shakespeare? Why are you not thinking of me? If you're thinking of poetry, why are you not thinking of Rudy Francisco? Why are you not thinking of these local legends that we have, Javon McCoy, the poet boy? You know what I'm saying? Like when people think of the craft that I do, I want you to think of me. You know what I'm saying? And that mindset should be applied to everybody for whatever it is they do. Like, I think you should try to excel to be the greatest. If you to be the greatest software engineer, be the greatest ball player, you know what I'm saying? Be the greatest poet, the greatest rapper.
There we go. I definitely like that. Definitely. So I do have something to pull up on the screen real quick. Hope it's the right one, so forgive me if it ain't. This right here is another bar that I was listening to through, going through your poetry, and this one says, "You want a real love? You're not even the real you. You the Instagram real, the internet reeled you into." Now it was more to that, but again, another deep word that I personally related to. Where was your headspace at when writing that? And was that like directly aimed at someone? You don't have to say who, but was it inspired by real life events?
So I try not to take shots at people when I write my poetry because I had a whole phase in my life very long ago where that was a thing. It was like I'd write shit out of spite. That wasn't written out of spite. But I wrote that because I'm a very, very observational person. And I'm observational in a very scrutinizing sense, and I'm observational in a very broad sense, where I can be watching the entire world or I can be watching a specific person and dissecting their actions. So when I saw, when I was just watching, these internet these internet
Influencers.
personalities, right? There is so much damage that the internet is doing to people's psyche, because they're ingesting so many other opinions, and none of them are their own. No original thought, no original beliefs, no original morale. And one of the biggest things that contribute to the state of people's mental well-being is romantic relationships. And the internet has this way of assigning you a personality if you don't do the work to get one yourself. If you don't have an identity and you're chronically online, it's self-mutilation. You want a real love, you're not even the real you. You the Instagram reel, the internet reeled you into. You're an algorithm. You're a product of an algorithm. How do you want a real love? You're not even a person. You are a copy and pasted digital human being. It's wild. And it's like that sounds really harsh, but people need to hear the rawest versions of things because you're getting the rawest versions of the damage that's out there. You're getting the rawest versions of misinformation. You know what I'm saying? So at the very least, my truth that I speak might sound harsh, but people need to hear it.
So that leads me to a question about something I think I've challenged you on before.
Mm.
I think one time you had posted something and I responded to it. And I asked you, how often are you like talking to yourself in these?
Yeah.
Do you think that's still like a lot of the thing that you deal with, where it's like what you're sharing is really just your reflections of what you see in yourself that you want to change and do better on?
Absolutely. That's literally where most of my posts, like, it's crazy. I was working on a caption for a post that I made today where I was going to give like a disclaimer because of how harsh some of my stuff sounds when I post it. Like a disclaimer, it's like, this is really me talking to myself. Bro, I do that every single day. You know what I'm saying? That's just because that's how I receive information. I need it that rough. Like the tough stuff, the hard to hear stuff, that's how I have to receive information. Because excuse me, I spent a large majority of my life with people very close to me that had a lot of influence over me, not telling me exactly what it is that I need to hear, not telling me exactly what's going on in a relationship I shouldn't be in, not telling me exactly what's going on with the course of action that I'm taking that I shouldn't be taking. Like, if you were just 100% honest with me, dismissed how I might have felt about it, and just told me what was really up, I'll get over hurt feelings. You saved me more hurt feelings in the long run by just keeping it all the way 100. Regardless of how harsh it might sound, I know that there's a difference between the truth and being overtly disrespectful, So the way that I write things are ways that I would receive them, you know what I'm saying? Which just happen to be ways that a lot of people are open to receiving things that they might not even known that, damn, I just needed to hear that shit, even if it was rough.
So You talk a lot about like the company you surround yourself with and like how that matters. Of course, it's great to have people who hold you accountable for stuff. And you're part of the SMS Poetry Collective, right? Like you helped to start that. Can you talk about that a little bit and the types of people that you got involved with in starting that?
Yeah. So it was
And what
actually
is that actually? SMS.
SMS is a first of its kind, unprecedented type of event. It's more than an event. So our summit is our main thing that we do once a year, and it's basically your culture con, your art Basel, your South by Southwest. It's your festival, your summit for poetry and writing and writers. You know what I'm saying? The idea was born and developed by a visionary who onboarded me onto the team, and me and her have been like the absolute closest, most elite business partners that I think I'll probably ever. You know what I'm saying? Like we just have been paving crazy, crazy lanes with SMS. So the main thing that we do is a once a year summit for poets, which just is an amalgamation of all things poetry. So this past June, we had the first one. We had lawyers, we had celebrity guest musicians, celebrity poets, we had educators, we had teachers, we had authors, we had slam champions, we had all kinds of different artists. All these people came together to give you performances, to give you workshops, to give you panels, and to give you direction. The lawyers gave you the legal side. Artists gave you the truth of it all. Artists gave you performances. We had teachers come and give you classes. Like it's literally everything poetry, everything writing, and all in one spot in a 3-day event. And it was a smashing success, bro. Like it was insane. And our first year was nuts. We had over 200 people there. And this next year we have some. I can't disclose exactly who we're bringing. We have a massive, massive artist. One of the biggest artists of our generation is coming to our event, and we're going to be booking some of the craziest, craziest talent and knowledgeable people to, just give gems to everybody that's involved. Anyone that shows up, it's impossible to go to our summit and not leave 30 times better than you were when you arrived.
And what does it stand for? SMS.
SMS stands for Stretch My Stanzas.
And do you know how she picked that name or no?
Somewhere in that big old brain of hers. I don't know.
Okay, that's it for me for that part. Go ahead.
Word.
There we go. So I got a question to ask because you and Kendall are both poets. So it's kind of a two-part question, but for people who may have never attended a poetry event, could you explain some of the benefits or some reasons why some people should attend it, whether they're apprehensive about it or they just are, clueless about it? Like, what are some reasons you think people should attend events? And I have a second part to that.
You should definitely attend a poetry event because you're going to find some of the most intellectual, emotionally in tune individuals in your area, and it's a vibe and an aesthetic that you will not find anywhere but at a poetry open mic. You'll be educated, you'll be thought of, you'll be remembered, you'll be supported, you'll be loved and cared for, you'll be accepted, and you'll be able to just enjoy a slice of heaven on earth, so long as the community that your poetry community is strong in the ways that it should be. If you're apprehensive, if you're scared, if you're worried, and you just listen to what I said, you shouldn't be anymore. Go outside. That's all I got to say.
Heard touch grass, right?
The touch grass, go hug a tree or something.
You feel me?
But second part to that, so when you're on stage as the poet, because some people may equate it, and forgive me, I'm not trying to compare the two, but may compare it or it's similar to like a stand-up comedian on stage. Now it's obviously two different things, but I know there's a lot of people looking to be entertained by you. So when you're on that stage, have you ever experienced any type of like stage fright? Have you ever messed up during the performance or different things like that? And if so, or if not, what things do you do to make sure that you're on your A game?
I have stage fright every single time I perform, big or
Same.
small.
Yep.
Whether I've done the same performance a million times, whether I know the poem front, backwards, and in Haitian, I'm going to be nervous. You know what I'm saying? And that's because I care. The day that I go on stage and I'm not nervous is the day that I lost love for poetry.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's the definitely.
That sounds a lot like actually I think Jovan is the person who put me onto that kind of thinking. Where it's like if you don't feel nervous anymore, like you have to wonder whether or not you still love the thing.
Yeah.
If you can get on stage and it's just like, I don't really care how it turns out, it's not gonna bother me.
Mm-hmm.
Versus like, man, I really want to do my damn thing, right? I want to
Yeah.
get up there, I want to mean something tonight.
Yeah.
On that same token, I want to ask, like, what is like of the past like year and a half or so that you've been active, what do you think is like your favorite moment, your number one moment?
My number one moment, like this year altogether?
Since you started coming out, really?
Since I started poetry?
Yeah, so, like as far as like coming out to perform and like really getting involved in the community.
Favorite moment? Wow. I have so many. I have so many. Like there's like mini canon events throughout my entire career so far.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go to one of my earliest memories as an artist. This is when I met Lewis, whose platform is the one that blew me up. I was at this local open mic called Miss Seeley's Blues, and this particular night was a competition for a couple $100 or something. I don't remember. And this is when I was still very unsure about my artistry, if I'm even really good, if people are just like supporting me, but I'm actually ass, but they're still supportive, you know what I'm saying? Like still trying to figure out that whole, am I actually good at this phase? You know what I'm saying? And that's very common for anybody starting, by the way. You're going to have the phase where you don't know if you're good at what you do. Keep doing it. You know, and if you want to be good at it, you got to be bad at it first. Like I was trash, bro. I was bad. Anyway, this competition happened and I got second place right behind Luis Marrero, who did this insane freaking poem. And I was like, there's no shot I'm a beat. But at the end of that competition, he got on stage and just gave me the craziest props ever. And like he just spoke so much into me. Like the crowd was feeling it. Then Lewis had like this heartfelt speech that he didn't have to give. And it was just like, damn. And so I told him, I'm like, bruh, I'm gonna come to your show one of these days because you just inspired me to just keep working. I'm like, because I knew he was like super jumping, like very much popular in the sense where he has the largest platform for poets. So to make an impression on him is very difficult because a million people are trying to make an impression on him every day.
Yeah.
So I wasn't like going to be like overly like on him or whatever. But I told him, I'm like, you probably gonna forget about me by the time I hit your stage, but when I do, you'll remember. And I told him that. And that's the only thing he remembered besides the actual competition. Because the next time I saw him, like years later, I went on VIP. I did a poem. I did 10 Easy Steps, if you know that. I'm sure, Kendall, you know that poem.
10 Easy Steps and Ticonderoga, like my
and that was like his first impression of me after saying what I said. And I showed him that I'm about what I say I'm about. And I was like, if I said I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do it. And I came and I did a great poem. And it was a great performance. And the crowd, when I did 10 Easy Steps for the first time at VIP, they stood, they were screaming, they were clapping, and in tears all at the same time. And I was just like, I was just looking around, and I got off stage, and everybody was just like giving me props. Some of them still got tears all in their face, and there's like 250 people in the room, and like it was just like that was that moment, bro. Like that's one of them joints where it's like, yeah, I'm meant for this. Like I really do this. I really can do this. So
yeah, the first standing ovation from VIP that you get. I actually remember when I did my piece Leap of Faith was when I got mine. And that was like it's so crazy to like step off that stage and then just walk into this.
Yes, just
open arms. Like, that's it. It's the craziest feeling when you just pour your heart out. It looked like Naya had something that she wanted to say too.
And definitely. And before Naya say real quick, can y'all explain what VIP is to the people who don't know what VIP is?
You want to do that, or you want me to grab it? Let's see.
You got it, bro. Yeah, I've been chatting a lot.
Yeah, so he mentioned Lewis. That's Lewis Marrero of Voices in Power. I started going to Voices in Power back in 2018. When I went, they had already been like some distance along the course, but they've been going, I think, almost 13 years now. They were in a church when I started going. Now they've expanded from like that little church setting to being like an international poetry open mic that is spearheading bringing poetry into the mainstream. And Lewis, he's a great dude. He's been working his ass off at this for well over a decade now, and it shows. People like T are starting to explode for poetry in a way that only like rap artists or like pop artists would before. It's getting like international attention, and if there's any open mic that you want to go to like really start getting your feet wet, it's Voices in Power. Whether you go to one in Philly or the Bronx or London, they're just all over the place, and they're leaving their mark for sure.
I definitely. Sorry, Naya, you had something to go.
No, mine wasn't. Thank you for explaining, Kendall, and thank you for everything else. T. So I was going to ask, like, I know that Jameer said, give us a reason why people should go to poet slams or poet shows. One of the questions I was going to ask you, like, for someone who doesn't go to poetry shows, but I do like poetry, but I normally watch like on YouTube and something like that. What are some rules that we should know that people who are just coming to poetry, like, what are some things? I know they said no clapping, because I know I clap. And they like, ain't no clapping in here. So like, what are some things that people should know? And what are some things that poets expect while they're on the stage?
So it's actually interesting you say that, because every space I go into is very much encouraging of that type of crowd interaction. Mm-hmm. It's they want that. And actually, to the second part of your question, because it's kind of the same, is artists feed off of that. Like, you give me energy, I'll give it to you times 2. You know what I'm saying? It's an investment between the audience and the performer. So the clapping, the snapping, the hooting, the hollering, all of that is very much in addition and very much needed, wanted, warranted, and enjoyed by the artist. And it just makes the whole vibe of the place go up. So some things you should know, like, interact with the artist. If you like something, let them know you liked it. Snap, clap, hoot, holler. Go up to them, tell them, you know what I'm saying? It's not like Love Jones where you can't speak, you can't do nothing, like you gotta be mad quiet for the artist. Like today's poetry culture, you better give me some energy, you know what I'm saying? Because we're gonna give it right back. Like, especially if somebody's talking that talk, there's no way you're gonna sit there when you feeling something heavy and not have some type of outward reaction. You know,
plenty of
Yeah, so give them like you just ate some good soul food, bro. Like, yeah, eat that joint up, bro. Like, give the artist some energy. But as far as like other things that you should expect, like, you can definitely expect art of all kinds. People address everything at poetry shows, so keep that in mind if you have like triggers or traumas or things that you are not comfortable addressing or hearing about or stuff like that. That's it's very important to some people because we all go through a lot and everybody handles it different. At an open mic, though, it's what people call a safe space, and that basically just implies that you're allowed to speak about anything here, as long as you're not being like overtly hateful. Like, you can't be white, go on stage and be like, I hate black people, but this is a poetry open mic, so I should be able to say that. No.
It happens where people will start a poem and then it's just like, oh, wait a minute, we need to get him off the stage. Like, this has happened before.
Yeah. But for the most part, you can expect a good time. You can expect a great time. A lot of these open mics, especially the ones that are established, been up and running and have like perfected it, like VIP, like SMS, you know what I'm saying? You can expect a very well put together show. Like at SMS, we throw events for people that have never been to events, and they're immediately and wholeheartedly hooked. Like, where has this been my entire life? Don't know, but we bought it to you now. You know what I'm saying? So
better late than never.
You feel me? It's a great thing.
Definitely want to go back to something you said earlier. You were talking about the transition from you doing music to poetry, and you alluded to the fact that you feel like there's like some evil within like some music. Now I do know like when it comes to like the music business, people forget about the business part. It's not really about the art. It's more about what can I make off of you? How profitable are you? So when you were making that transition, aside from like the music business part, what was some things about doing music that turned you off? And is that anything that you would circle the block back to?
Um, is very cutthroat. You know what I'm saying? And when I say that, I don't say that because I'm scared of competition. I don't shy from competition. I know almost everything in life is a competition. However, music is extremely clicky, very clicky, and it's just there's a lot of drama. There's a lot of it's just so much of everything besides art. There's so much that goes on that just doesn't have anything to do with the creation and the enjoyment of art, especially in hip hop. You know, it's specifically with hip hop even, and it's just like I'm going to spend so much of my time and energy battling the darkness of this art form to the point where the balance between fighting the darkness and doing the art is always going to be off by an exponential degree. I don't got time for it.
Even in like you'll find that stuff in the worst of the poetry spaces too.
Yeah,
like poetry is definitely not free from it, but
it's just a lot less prevalent.
Yep.
There we go. That's definitely very interesting because you know people again bring up the fact that it's more of a business. So when it comes to poetry, does poetry eventually become like a business? And when I say that, for people who may be starting off, they do like the poetry jams and open mics and different things like that. Is there a point where when you want to get bigger as a poet that you have to think of like the business side of poetry, or is it always surrounded or based around the art?
So the foundation is art, and the foundation is love for the art. It grows into a business if you desire it to do that. Because one thing I can tell you about monetizing your craft is that it's one of the quickest ways to actually kill love for the craft. If you don't have an unshakable foundation for love for what it is that you do, and then you try to make profit and business moves off of something you don't like that much, you're going to fail. Guarantee it 100%. You have 0% chance of success. If you want to make poetry a business, then you can, but you do not have to. It depends. Poetry doesn't just one day evolve into a business because you do it long enough. That has to be your desire. For me, it's my desire, but I have an unshakable love for spoken word art and writing. So regardless of the challenges I've faced with the transition into being a professional poet, it hasn't shaken my faith in it at all. It's difficult. It's hard as hell. It's the hardest thing I've ever attempted in life. Yet I'm very much comfortable with how difficult it is because I know it's worth it. I know I like doing this. I know I love doing this. There's no level of difficulty that's going to keep me away from this. You know what I'm saying?
So why do you think it is that monetization is so good at being an accelerant to killing a dream? Why do you think that is?
Because monetizing has a lot less to do with art than art has to do with art. You know what I'm saying? If you want to make profits off of your art, then you have to accept different types of criticism. And I learned this from life, and I was able to put it into words after I took a class by Brandon Leak, who is a huge artist, by the way. Shout out Brandon Leak. And he said, if you want to make profits off of this art, then you have to accept that it's not going to happen if you're bad at it. So it can kill your love for the craft if you try to make profit and try to make a business, but you're not actually that good, because your numbers, the money you make, the way people support you, after you start a business with it, will show in a way how good you are at it. Because good dope sells itself. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to convince anybody. You don't have to do a whole bunch of work. If people love your shit, they're going to support every single thing that you do because they just want it. You know what I'm saying? And it can kill how much you like doing the craft if you try to transition to business, and if you're not good at what you do, or if you are a bad business person, or if there's there's 1,000 factors, and they change every day, and it's very, very hard on your head, on your mind, and if you can't weather that storm, you're not going to come out of it the same, with the same amount of love that you had when you were just doing it for fun. You know what I'm saying? So it really is like, you can do this, but there's no coming back. There's no coming back the same.
So you said weathering the storm. Since Naya got dropped out, one of the questions that she wanted to ask you was along the lines of like, has poetry helped you get through any of those storms in your life?
Oh my God, yes. Bro, let me tell you something. My mental health as, just a young man growing up was abysmally bad. It was terrible. It took an entire community's worth of people pouring into me constantly, consistently, to lift my head. It's changed everything. You know what I'm saying? These days I have so much confidence instilled within me, but it took a village to pour love into me before that happened. So I don't really take credit for all of this. Like, yes, I'm the artist, yes, I created these things, but people showed me where I was at.
The support.
Yes, the support.
For sure. And I wanted to touch on this because of course we talked about a lot of like you more so of your art, but I want to talk about just like you for a second really quickly, and mentally. Like mentally, how are you? And when I say that, like, do you use poetry as a form of a healthy coping mechanism when you're going through like a depression or different things like that? So yeah, do you use poetry as a coping mechanism, and how are you mentally right now?
These days, I'm the greatest I've ever been in my life, and it's amazing to hear myself say that, and there's no tightness in my chest because I feel like I'm slightly lying. I have never been better. I'm on tip top of my game. I have opportunities out the ass. I have people pouring into me all the time. I have unlimited gratitude for this world, for this life, for the people that love my stuff. I have amazing friends, amazing family bonds. Um, I have never been greater. I've never been in a greater spot mentally in my life. Even though, like I said earlier, the financial aspect of going full time might be a little shaky, but there's zero stress associated with that. I just have so much unshakable faith. I have no shot at losing at all, and no shot at losing at all. So mentally, I'm great. I'm iron tough, bro, and it's crazy because that really only changed this year, and there was 23 years prior to that where you asked me how I was, I would have had to shut this camera off because I would have started tearing up with the lies, trying to freaking be performative and like, I'm good, bro, da da da. Like, it was always a dishonest answer. And it wasn't until, really, like, especially this year, solidifying, I'm great. I'm great.
Oh, so I definitely want to riff off of that too. So I'm a gamer. I've been a gamer my entire life. One big thing in like gaming communities is like, when you're a guy and you're in the gaming community, you have like your group of friends, right? You get on, you play your game for a couple of hours or whatever, but y'all don't really like talk about it. You don't talk about like anything that goes on in your life. It's just like, yo, I'm with the boys for a couple hours. I'm not expressing anything. We're just doing this and then we're done. It's more like we're coworkers and friends. What type of steps do you think that guys, like just as ourselves, like women excluded from this part of the conversation, how do you think guys can be better at like supporting each other in those kinds of spaces? I'm sorry, Naya, I didn't mean it like that, I promise.
I was just playing.
But yeah, how do you think men can do a better job of like supporting each other in those spaces where it is like we're coworkers, but more than that?
This is an excellent question. This is an outstanding question, Kendall. This is a very, very important question, and I hope I can answer it. Man, a brotherhood is absolutely everything. It's absolutely everything. Having strong not even strong men, having strong bonds with other men is one of the number one necessities of every male on planet Earth, man. Um, Me personally, me and my boys, we can chat about anything. There's no shame, no boundaries. You know what I'm saying? Well, there's boundaries, but like there's no shame in addressing certain things. Like my dog, literally, I haven't seen one of my bros in weeks, probably over like a month or two, because he's been going through some things, and he knows I'm always here for him. And he just came over yesterday, and he was supposed to just pick something up and dip, and I had ended up having like a 2 hour freaking real ass deep talk with him about his mental health, and opening the door like it was already open, like, and just letting him know, bro, you can literally hit my phone, you can pull up, we can go do something. Like, I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so important to have brotherhood, people that you can actually lean on, because a lot of men out here, their friendships are fake, their relationships are fake. Everything is built on shaky foundation, unstable foundation, dishonest foundation. And it's because you manifest these people that aren't real with you in the ways that you need, because you're not real with yourself in the ways that you need. So, a brotherhood, even if it's at work, like one of my the same person I'm talking about yesterday, I met him at a job. I was working at a job that I hated for 2 years. That's the one that I quit. That's the last job that I quit. But that was my boy, you know what I'm saying? And he was a coworker, but it was way deeper than that. Like, I'm hanging out with him all the time. I'm gaming with him all the time. Like, I'm a little bit of a gamer myself. I love the game when I have the time for it. And, but we get into actual deep stuff. It's not weird for us to talk about feeling emotional, but it's not weird. It's not a weird thing to talk about, bro. I've been feeling like trash. Like, I'm having trust issues. Like, I don't know how to do this. Like, dog, I need help. And my people can come to me like that, and I can come to them like that. There's no shame in anything. And to cultivate those bonds is everything. Because like I said earlier, the world is very divisive, and they want men and women against each other. But a reality that men face is that you're always going to have to prove your value, especially when it comes to like a romantic relationship. And that's not something to dislike women over. It's a law that you should just accept, because in a way they have to do the same. We all have to prove that we're worthy of each other's presence, right? But when it comes to man like bonds between men, there's a lot less there's a lot less there's a lot less walls up. There's a way lower barrier to entry, bro. We're all fighting the same battle. You know what I'm saying? So women will fold in your life, and that's just an unfortunate truth. But the bonds that you make with brothers is forever. You know what I'm saying? And those solid bonds that you learn how to build with your boys, well, the byproduct of that is knowing how to build a solid bond with a solid female eventually. You know what I'm saying? But all of that starts inside. If you don't have like, there's so many men that don't have male friendships that are solid, and their relationships are never solid either. You know what I'm saying? And if you boil it down, it's almost 9 times out of 10 they don't have a solid relationship with themselves. So everything built off of that shaky foundation is even shakier at the top. It's like a 400-foot skyscraper made of plywood at the bottom, and you're trying to put scaffolding and steel at the top, and it's windy. What are you doing? You got to start with yourself. Everything comes from there. Start with yourself. Get great relationships with other men, and like I'm telling you, my life has taken one of the biggest catalysts for improvement in my life is having great relationships with my brothers.
That's good. That's very powerful. Sorry, I just have to jump in on that. That's very powerful because I do feel like there is a lack of a authentic friendship with men and especially black males because I feel
Mhm.
like a lot of things, whether it's from each other or sometimes our female counterparts, heavy on the sometimes. I do feel like a lot of us kind of get a lot of things can be taken the wrong way. And then, for instance, like in the black community, there could be like a lot of like homophobia or different things like that. And then
Mhm.
people can equate like my best friend or, and then they can make it, more than like what I'm trying to say is like they can make it more than what it is or whatever. Or
Love you,
I
but no
remember
homo, bro.
exactly, yeah, you feel me, love you, but no homo and everything. It's like we have to put a lot of barriers like with like saying like bro I love you. Like I should really say I love you without saying no homo. You feel me?
Yeah.
I should be able to, you know, be like, yo, like that's my bro. I could cry on your shoulder. And I feel like a lot of that is like looked down upon as being weak, you know. And I feel like a lot of black men really have a lot of hard time showing their emotional side with each other because there is a stigma on it, and it's probably happened from when we were kids and everything. We're told, you know, don't cry, don't be emotional, different things like that. So I definitely agree with everything you said because there is a disconnect with a lot of my male friendships as opposed to maybe some female friendships I had.
Where, yeah, man, and that's one of the saddest things in the world to witness because I see it all the time. Like, as some, I never really had that issue personally where I feared being viewed a certain way because of my connection with my boys. I don't know if it's because I just wasn't exposed to the stigmas much growing up. Like, I was exposed to a lot of stigmas, but I didn't ever fear being close, like closeness with my brothers. And thankfully, I just must not have received the that type of pressure from society where it's like, damn, I'm scared to be close with my boys because what if people think I'm gay? What? You know, like that was the wildest thing for me when I realized that was an actual issue. But because I like initially I dismissed it because I thought people were joking, like this doesn't actually happen because it was not prevalent in my life. But I started seeing it OD the more I went outside. It's like, yo, that's your boy, and y'all are like micro censoring, you're like micro checking each other, you're like doing all these things, and it's just like you understand you're wrapping this whole bond you have in plastic and it's fake now, right? It's weird because that those little habits, some tiny atomic habits, they grow into cancerous cells in every relationship that you build. It's like you have to kill that stuff at the root because the little freaking all that little shit, like thinking, oh, you know, being close with your boys or something is sus or whatever. Like it just stems from I don't know so much. It's such a large conversation, man. It's such a large conversation. I really, it's a sad thing to see a lot of men that I know, a lot of people that I see just scared to just live, bro. Just breathe. Like it's wild, man. I feel this, but you know, I'm here to dissect that with my art, with my words, and to dispel some of that. And because it's I don't know, it's a silent killer, bro.
Definitely a solid killer for sure, definitely. Um, so Kendall, you got anything else to ask?
So I got through pretty much everything that I wanted to ask you.
All right, now you had anything else you wanted to ask?
I think that I said pretty much everything and asked. I think that you
Wow,
guys.
you were shaking your head for a minute. I want to hear what that was about.
Oh, I can say, oh, I was talking crap.
I definitely
But
want to
then-
hear the woman's
And then he started explaining himself, so I just let it slide. And I was like, oh, okay, I can see what he's saying.
No, I always love hearing a woman's perspective on, especially when it comes to men's mental health, because it's when I say it's polarizing, it's mostly polarizing a woman's perspective, and it could be for a lot of different reasons. But I would love to hear any comments that you have, even if you feel like they're negative. You're not going to offend me.
Oh, they real negative. No, I'm just kidding. You want to know what's funny? When we was planning this earlier and we was going through some things, most of the questions I had was all about mental health, like therapy and mental health. I just didn't ask them because I didn't know how to word those things. But then you start opening up about certain things, and it's like, okay, I really didn't have to ask certain things because you literally spoke on some of the things I was going to already ask you. And I do agree that it's nothing like a brotherhood versus a sisterhood. A brotherhood is different than a sisterhood. But first, when you said you ain't never gonna get a solid female, I'm like, what? Like in my mind, I'm like, who?
No, I don't think
that's how,
I know he cleared it up.
He said you'll run into women who fold.
I was like, what you mean? I'm like, I never folded on nobody because you said folded or something, right?
Yeah, it was fold.
So I was like, I ain't never folded on nobody.
I said women will fold, and
yes, that's what you said. And I was like, what?
It's going to happen. Like it's one of them things in every man's life. It's like it's going to happen. But
well, is it happening due to the fact that I feel like the women nowadays, a lot of women do fold, and a lot of women are users, and a lot of women are manipulators because of the pain and the suffering that they had to go through, and we always had to be like under men's feet. That's how it was in the beginning, before we was even born. It was like the man was the alpha, which is a good thing, but women was treated like a little, they wasn't respected as much. And they didn't have a voice. A lot of women didn't have a voice long ago, and it just started happening. And then it's like they kind of took advantage of the opportunity, and sometimes we go a bit too far, and then we take away that masculinity from men. I do feel that way, and I feel like I never folded in a situation. That's why I was like, what you talking about? But there are women who do fold, and I feel like woman to woman fold quicker than woman to a man. I feel like women kind of hold men up more than a female friend, because I can get mad at a female friend and not talk to her for years, and a man can do something worse. And this is how women are sometimes. I noticed it. But a man can do something just as worse, or do something, and then they still being that sucker, they still holding on, or whatever the case may be. But I feel like when a man and a man go through some things, a man and a man can really fight today and then be friends tomorrow, or shake hands right after it, but they're bros. When girls fight, they fight, and then they just mad at each other forever, and they can't forgive. And I honestly feel like men almost kind of forgive more than women, a bit, honestly, when it comes to a lot of things. I don't know if y'all agree with that.
Down to like the nature of the sexes, right? Women, the way that they express anger is psychological. The way men express anger, disagreements is often physical, a lot more physical than it is mental. And it's not like you're physically gonna fight your boys or nothing, but like y'all might, it's like, you know what, bro, run them ones in basketball or something real quick, and like you'll literally settle over a game of ball or something. But like women, the psychological nature that women use to kind of dismantle people they don't agree with anymore causes way more emotional damage over time, over a longer period of time, because y'all might say something really nasty to each other that's hard to forgive. You might you might gossip about them, you might start rumors, you might ruin reputations, you know what I'm saying? Like dudes is really just gonna smack you around a little bit, or tell you to come play ball, or like come outside and slap box you real quick or something. Like, not that either ways are like the best ways to communicate, because they're not. I'm just saying those are just examples of what, the breakdown between how disagreements go, like within the sexes, like how a man disagrees with a man, how a woman disagrees with a woman, and then everything in between.
Definitely, for
Almost
sure.
psychological on the female side.
I agree. Jameer, what you was about to say about it?
It took me back to what we were saying earlier about how men are not unconditionally loved, and I seen something on social media saying that men are love based off of how they can provide. So a lot of times we're basically valuing ourselves based off like how much can I provide, because again, you'll find yourself in a situation where if you're in a relationship, and let's say if you ask your woman to go like 50-50 with bills on you. What am I, a roommate? No, you're not a roommate. Like, you're paying your 50% part of helping us build so that we can build together. So sometimes we don't feel like we are loved unless we can provide. And I know for me, mentally, if I'm not in a space where I feel like I can, provide or even help out in certain aspects, then that is something where it would put me in a deep depression. I don't want to be around anything, nobody. So that's just something I saw circulating online about men feeling like they're only loved based off of how much they can provide.
So I would like to chime in on that, right? Because in a lot of cases, in every single case, it's pretty much true that a man is valued based on his value, you know what I'm saying? But when it comes down to the way a woman views that man, it's still the man's responsibility to vet her, to understand where her head is at before you get serious. Because a man shouldn't really ever be getting too bent up and upset about a woman's mindset if you vetted her well enough to know where she's at. Like, if this is somebody that you're dating or getting to know, you need to have a good vetting process for that woman. Because if you get serious with her but you don't even know her, And you know, it comes down to like you have a really rough year with your job, with your finances, but you never made sure to see where her head is at, then she folds on you because you broke now. Well, you probably there's probably a bunch of telltale signs you ignored for some reason, and you just picked the wrong one. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of it comes down to taking accountability and learning to choose correctly. You know, and like I'm not saying that there's not shorties out here that are really good at lying, manipulating this, and that, and the third, but like another thing that I say all the time is a man's focus shouldn't be women. Like, get on your block, get on your square, get a craft, get a skill, get a hobby, get extremely good at it. Find people hustling like you. Get in the gym, take care of yourself, do your skincare, be the absolute best you can be for you. You shouldn't be doing none of this out here for the approval or the appeasement of a woman. Because when you're at the tip top of your game, when you've been working hard, you're gonna meet somebody. It's just going to happen that is on that same level, has also did the work, did the shadow work, did the mental work, did all these things, like, and will meet you at that level and we'll come together and form something beautiful. But you know, if you, a lot of unfortunately a lot of dudes is out here, you know, wanting so much in relationships, but where's your stature in life? You know what I'm saying? You do your very best to be the absolute best that you can because you know it's hard out here. You know it's mostly unfair, and you know dating is extremely difficult. You know it's extremely competitive. You know it's very competitive. So compete, bro. You have to. You either compete or you quit. You just lose. Like there's no in between. So you got to get in the gym. You got to get your money up. You got to get on your hustle. And you can't be doing it specifically for women. Like do it for you. Do it because you want to be good. You know what I'm saying? Like that's when I experienced the absolute most success. I just stopped caring about certain stuff. Just stopped caring, and I really locked in. Nothing mattered, you know. So nothing else mattered. But my goals. I want to do this artistry. I want to make sure I kept my lights on, my water running, my phone on. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't be bothered with all the dating opinions and all this relationship shit going on online, bro. I don't care about none of that. I don't care about none of that. Like I'm trying to be. I have a legacy to build. I want a legendary career. You know what I'm saying? And that's attractive. That's attractive. Dudes that are overly thirsty, you know, you're seeking relationships constantly, but you're unhealed. You're this, that, and the third. Like, and it's not to bash men at all. Like, I just need
I was
us.
gonna say tag me next time.
See, I don't know what you got going on, bro.
Nah, I'm messing with you. I'm messing with you. That's cool. Go
It's
ahead.
just like just make sure that you're the absolute best that you can be, because that's just when you are the most viable option. And unfortunately, it's always going to feel like I just got to be the best. Like, yeah, man, that is true. That's just how.
But let me say this. I do agree with you. It's not that I don't agree with you, but I also feel like you can meet people in the worst spaces. And I feel like with my last relationship I just had, I met him in a middle space, meaning like he probably was doing good. And even if he was doing good in a financial area, there were other things that were broken inside of him. And sometimes God would send you the right person in your life to help you heal. You understand? So I never look, don't get me wrong, I like a man with a bag, but at the same time, I have met men who didn't have a bag, but they had everything else I needed. And sometimes I'm attracted to brokenness, even with friends, like, and people I know. Oh, you hurting? Oh, I used to hurt. Are you hurting? And even if I'm not hurting that area, I always want to heal people. That's why I went to school for social work. So when you said that, it's just like, yeah, that's cool. Definitely get your objective is to get on your grind, to go forth and to do X, Y, and Z. But sometimes it's hard for people to push. You know, sometimes you do need that little notch from your partner. Like, come on, it's not that I'm so much doing it for you, but sometimes you're going to get to a point when you look at your family and say, I'm doing this for you too. Like, I'm not just doing this for me. Even as you said that you're building a legacy, when you have kids, when you're married, when you're have a girlfriend or whatever the case may be, you'll look at them and say, you know what? I'm doing this for you too. Like, you know, it gets to that point. And I feel like women do need to build their men more up. And I also feel like men need to respect their women. And I feel like if men respect their woman more, then the woman will feel more secure and pour in. to you.
That's exactly what I was saying earlier. Having those brotherhoods and having that respect, that love for yourself, like it emanates and it bleeds into everything in the best way. Like a man that's on his block, a man that has great friendships with other men, who's a respectable person, big emphasis on a respectable person, all of that will also come out in the way that he treats women. You know what I'm saying? But there's a lot that goes into the complete picture of a man, you know what I'm saying? An upstanding, respectable man. But there's a lot for both men and women, but for men right now, like the topic right now is like you have to be very, very well rounded in those areas. Like if you have great brotherhoods, but you have a bunch of relationship trauma that you won't address, you might still have the career, the brotherhoods, this, that, and the third, but then you finally attempt a relationship having done no romantic work, you know what I'm saying, or thought, and you're still having terrible relationships because you're lacking in that area still. You know, it's about being well-rounded. You know what I'm saying?
Most definitely. I definitely do 100% understand. Definitely. And I'm pretty sure everybody else do as well. So I did want to ask this before we like get out of here or whatever. And then I'm not sure if they got any more questions before I do. Ask this. All right,
but it's for everybody after you.
Well, go.
Okay, so it's like I guess I will ask for this is me asking for the men, right? So do you guys ever feel like when you guys out of all the people you dated, the people you've been around, could be girl friendships and also it can be someone that you've been with. Let's make y'all naked right now, not literally naked. Let's strip away that you are the poetry guy. Kendall likes to do broadcasting and Jameer likes to do podcasts and you work and y'all all work. Take away your money, take away your talent, everything. Have y'all ever felt love just for being who y'all are? Like just for being, they love me just for being Jameer. Like have anybody made you feel that way?
No.
I don't think I've ever been in a position mentally where I was mature enough to recognize it for what it was. I think that's always like that's why I asked him earlier, like, how do you think you can build like better relationships with the men around you? Because I feel as though if you can't look at the guy across from you and be like, that guy is hurting and I can tell, if you can't do that with yourself even, then there's no real way that you'll be able to receive that kind of care when somebody brings it to you. And I don't think I've ever, in my 26 years of life, I've ever been healed enough to actually be in the position to recognize it. Whether it is coming from my mother who did her damnedest to raise me, or from relationship after relationship that I've torpedoed myself, or ones that have just kind of fizzled out over time. It's always been my inability to recognize what was in front of me that kind of caused that kind of collapse.
Yeah, for me, it's just my mom. If you took it all away and boiled it all down, it would just be my mother. But you know, outside of that, like every interaction I've had with any woman in my life has been conditional, and I think that's just a law. I think it's just always going to be that way. In some ways, every love that you experience outside of your mother's love, and some of us don't even have that. Some mothers really don't even like their sons for a lot of different reasons. You might not have even ever had that. You're unfortunately only ever going to have a conditional love, and you may have a woman whose conditions are a lot less strict, severe, OD, whatever. There's still conditions there. Like if you stop doing this, if this, you know, like the thing about unconditional love is that no matter what, you know what I'm saying? And there is no relationship a man is ever going to have that is a no matter what. It's not a real thing. And you shouldn't look for that. And that's okay. You know what I'm saying? Like that's okay to an extent. But nah.
Yeah, pretty much same thing they said.
No, for me. I did want to put a question in at the end too.
Yeah, I wanted Jameer to expound more because he's just like no.
Oh yeah, no, I was about to expand more. So for me, it just took me back to for me, and I use it as an example. I felt like if I wasn't in a financial, and not even I felt like it was put on me that if I'm not, you know, financially able to take care of said woman at the time, you know, the kid that she had at the time or whatever, then I was worthless. You know, even in the midst of compromising, saying like, okay, you could work part-time, you know, but I don't have a substantial enough job to take care of you like a housewife, because then if I ask for things in reverse, like, oh well, can the house be clean, can X Y Z, she was quick to say, I'm not your maid. So I'm like, okay, so am I your bank? You know, because when we were both working full time, she told me she didn't want to work full time or whatever. I'm like, okay, that's fine, boom, you feel me, you can work part time. And then she got to the point where she was like, you know what, I don't want to work at all. And I was like, well, that's not going to work in our current situation. And then her response was, well, I'm going to go find me a nigga that can do it. And my response was, well, go find that nigga, because I'm not about to beat myself up to be that nigga. You feel me? Because I knew where I was at in that particular time. And I was already compromising with allowing you to go part time. And then you have a child. This wasn't my biological child. Yeah. You have a child. And then you're saying, well, I need to find me a nigga that's going to take care of me and my child. So to me, that's when I knew that I was in love based off of what I was already providing for her, which was a house, an apartment house, you know, people, and different things like that.
Right.
There we go. So you say you had X son asking
that? I just wanted to slide in to ask whether or not he has yet revealed the origin of the name TSleeveless.
I have not. I won't be happening today. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I'm not asking you to reveal it. I just wanted to know whether or not you have yet, because I'm like, damn, have I missed something? Has he explained it yet? But I'm glad. It's always cool to see that kind of stuff. I like to see like secrets that you might look at it from the outside, just be like, why keep it a secret? But at the same time, that's the whole point. You don't know why. You don't. So I'm glad that that's something that you've kept up and held on to, because I remember one of your very first pieces, you said it was your best kept secret.
Yeah,
it's good to see that hold on.
Yeah, it still is. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what type of situation it'll be if it ever comes out. I don't know what the hell that would even look like. Even in my creative mind, I can't think of a situation.
I thought for a little bit, I'm like, damn, is it an anagram? Can you flip the letters around and it means something?
Who knows?
But yeah, it's cool, man. Keep that shit close to your chest and know who you are, and then carry it with you, because TSleeveless will be a name that people remember whether or not they know what the fuck it means.
Okay.
Exactly. Okay. There we go. Definitely. And then definitely, before we wrap everything up, I personally want to ask you, for those who may not have heard your work or anything, can we get like a little preview, a little something, just for those who may be watching? Not to put you on the spot. Yeah, you know,
it be something old.
It's a little something. That's something old. Yeah, ain't gotta be new. Something old, whatever.
Man, you see, this is what I mean when I say I be getting nervous. Like, okay.
No, we nobody. Come on. Well, you know what I mean.
Right. It's just three people staring at you. It's like.
No pressure though. If it's like, you know, you don't really want to do it. Just, you know, for those who may be watching, so they can actually go to your Instagram and be like, oh, you know, they can hear a little something.
Trying to think, what the hell am I going to say? I got so much work. Like, if I knew this question was coming, I would have prepared something in advance.
No preparing.
I like her. Was that a nail polish bottle? Did you just toss?
No, it was actually lip gloss.
I'll think of some lines and I'll just say them until I can't remember nothing else.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, see, this is what I mean. Like,
all right, I'm not looking. I got my eyes closed.
Right, yes. Sometimes being a poet is to be as quiet as a closed casket and still the life of the party. 9 times out of 10, I have a tighter grip on my pen than I do on reality. That's all I got right now.
Nah, that's cool, man. I love that.
Listen, that's fine. And if y'all want to hear the rest of it, then head over to his Instagram, which you can give to those who may be watching. For those that may want to follow you, hear more of your work, where can they follow you at? And you know, just drop it all.
Word. So I'm really mainly on IG right now. I have a YouTube that I'm starting, where I'm going to be doing like my own talks and stuff, because I love the chat. I feel like I have a great perspective on a lot of things. But everywhere is TSleeveless. It's TSleeveless on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube soon. But mostly on Instagram is where I'm posting. Follow me, hit me up. You know, come to a show, chat, chill, talk.
Okay, there we go. And then thank you all for tuning into this special episode of our Culture Conversation interview with TSleeveless. For a lot of y'all that's watching, please make sure y'all subscribe to As the Culture Turns on YouTube at As the Culture Turns. You can follow us on Instagram at As the Culture Turns. And you can like us on Facebook at As the Culture Turns. And if you want to get into me personally, you can follow me at Jameer, the way you see it on the screen, with 3 underscores on Instagram. Kendall, where can they find you?
Yep, same here. My name is Kendall. Actually, one big thing I need you to follow me on is my Twitch. So that's twitch.tv/AfroMortis. I'm on Instagram at AfroMortis. Anything else I don't really bother to post on, but yeah, those are my 2 big things.
And Naya?
You guys can follow me on Instagram at Naya_Rose, which is underneath, at the bottom.
There we go. All right. Again, thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you, TSleeveless, for joining us for this culture conversation, and we wish you best luck with all your future endeavors.
Thank you so much, y'all.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you, man.
Privilege. This was an outstanding conversation, man. I can't wait to watch this back.
Thank you,
Same, brother.
Appreciate
Same.
it. Thank you.
Better watch out for that blitz. Can't deny that I'm lit. You can't deny that I'm lit.
Can't deny that I'm lit. Gotta ride with your blick. Fuck watching for the option. Be the cops to get you hit. I just right up off the porch. Mama said stay up out the mix. Niggas up when I was broke. They left me down on my dick. They let me down. Now I won't be around now. I fuck this bitch, take her to Pound Town. When I was broke, they used to laugh at me. My dad thought it was a tragedy. His man thought it was sad to see. You smoking knobs like a bag of weed.